G'day social media fans, it's Big Juz here from the Just Your Average Fishers Facebook and Instagram page. Coming back to you from the home of fishing, the Mitcham Angling Club, my local fishing club, bringing you another Tech Tackle episode. Tonight we're going to delve into some of the fishing gear that we use in our reports, and we're specifically focusing on the lighter fishing side tonight. So we're going to show you the rods, the reels, we're going to talk about the braid, the rigs that we use to catch fish, and as always I'm joined by the Baron. Ben, thanks for joining me again.
Pleasure, thank you mate.
Oh, thank you for coming in and sharing some of your knowledge. It's absolutely fantastic. What's going on here?
You have one thing on the table.
Yeah, I have one thing, Shimano X-Age monofilament line. Not something that you use often.
No.
No, so I was going to talk about this.
Sorry to pull you up, but it was obvious. There was one thing.
There was one thing. It was there to remind me to talk about it because people would have read, depending on when this show goes to air, that I've just come back from the Nicholson River Mitcham Angling Club Ross McCulley annual bream trip. And I wanted to show people that you could catch big bream on really light mono line.
Yep.
And Shimano X-Age line, can't go wrong with the old Shimano.
But that's 20 pounds.
This is 20 pound for snapper fishing, right?
Okay.
But I was using 8 pound.
Okay.
All right. Comes in a 300 metre spool, available from all good tackle outlets. It's very thin. It's quite smooth, and it has little stretch in it. So
do you know what I like about mono?
What?
It is so easy to tie knots in.
It is. It is.
You don't have to worry about it.
Braid.
Yeah. Life was easier with mono.
Life was a lot easier with mono, but we
it
all
wasn't
stopped using it.
I know.
There is a place for it.
Not in 50 fathoms up the north coast.
No, not in deep dropping.
No.
No.
Nowhere over 10, 20 metres.
We're talking to all fishers here, Ben. You know, we're talking to all fishers, far and wide, from multiple experience levels. And I think that what we can show is that, you know, you can use mono to catch bream, you can use mono to catch whiting. You know, we use braid for different reasons. We're going to talk about that. But yeah, if you need a cheap line, Shimano X-Age, I was using 8 pound on a little 2,500 reel. Actually, I'm going to turn around and get the rod, which is this little bad boy here.
You got too many to choose from.
Too many to choose from. So I had some pretty crappy bream rods, right? And so I went down to the local complete angler store and said, I need to get a cheap combo that someone could go catch some bream with, that's not going to bust the bank, is not silly in terms of its quality, but will feel nice in the hands.
So we gave you a hand line?
No. I got a fishing rod.
Right, okay.
Well, of course you can catch them on hand lines.
It's not as fun, is it?
No.
Do you like all of your fingers connected?
Rod and reel, Ben. Yeah, okay. Rod and reel, right? So people would probably have heard this name before, Shimano, but Raider. Raider, I think, was designed, or the guys had something to do with it, Starlo and Bushy, many years ago when Raider was first introduced.
Funny story.
Yeah.
My first Raider, I bought the day after my wedding on the honeymoon.
Right.
Because I wanted to go fishing.
Good man, priorities.
Wife wasn't happy, but I've still got the Raider in the shed. So you should have said, I would have brought mine.
Well, here we are.
Cork grips.
Cork grips. And still has cork grips. So this particular one...
Mine don't look like that anymore.
No, they probably don't. But they do get dirty, but you can wash them with a bit of morning fresh and warm water. You don't want them to dry out too much, so give them a wash is good.
But you took the plastic off, which some people don't do on cork, and that's bad.
That is real bad, because what happens is the moisture builds up and it erodes the cork. It makes it go soft.
Which is why mine don't look like yours anymore.
Yeah, so I pull all the plastic off, absolutely. But this is a Shimano 7... Oh, hang on.
7.3 or something. No, that's a bit long for a bream.
I picked up the wrong bloody rod. That is the Eggy rod. We're going to talk about that later.
That's your 8-foot bream rod, yeah?
Yeah, 7.8. Yeah, forget average fisho. No, this is a 721 bream. So it's a 1 to 4 kilo, one piece, 7'2".
One piece until it goes in the car door, so you've got to be a bit careful.
You do need to be a bit careful. They do make a 2-piece, but it goes up to 2 to 4 kilo rather than 1 to 4.
Right.
Okay. It has just the standard base run-of-the-mill Sienna, 2,500. You used to fish whiting with these for years, didn't you?
I did.
Yes. Until they sounded like Morris miners that probably had gravel for oil in the engines.
And that wasn't the fault of the Sienna. That was me fishing the middle of the North Arm in Western Port with 8-ounce sinkers on 2,500 size Siennas. Not what they're designed for.
And back in the day, they used to be a plastic spool. Obviously, many entry-level reels have now gone to the aluminium spools so they don't get crushed if you tightly wind braid onto them. But that has got 8-pound Shimano line on it, and it's straight through to a 1/0 circle hook with a little bean sinker. And Jake and Max, my two boys, and I, with Chris and Carlo, caught a whole bunch of bream across 3 days to 46.5 centimetres.
Do you know, with bream and hooks, in my entire childhood, I didn't know that there was multiple types of hooks. We had one. We had a mustard 4200D. And for bream, we used the size 1 to 1/0. For snapper, we used the 5/0. And for jewfish, we used the 10/0.
Right.
And now when I came down here, I'm like, there's so many other options.
So
now you have to choose.
Well, I was using fine gauge Mutus to put through soft shell, but this is a super sharp 1/0 circle, which we're baiting whole soft shell, which is, for those of people who don't know what a soft shell is, it's literally a miniature soft shell pippy, locally to Gippsland region.
So is that when you deep fry them in batter and then eat them when you don't use all the bait?
Negative, no. Well, you might, but...
Not the soft shell crabs that you
No,
get in
no, not
Japanese
soft shell
restaurants?
crabs.
Okay.
But you do use cut crab as well. So you get the shore crabs, you cut them into 4, put them on. Bream just love it. And soft shell has outperformed any other bait that I used, including worms, live shrimp, fresh prawns that were dead, obviously, and cut crab. The last 2 years that we've been fishing.
Should we tell them the trick with crabs and where to hook them? Because some people just go through the top of the shell. You've got to go through the swimmer leg.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you may as well just throw it off and throw your hook in the other direction.
That's right. So the shore crabs are quite big. You cut them into 4 pieces, which leaves a few legs on each piece, and just through the leg join, I think they call it the carapace or something like that. And yeah, that hooks on. You can dangle it. It's completely fine. It doesn't come off for days. And you are fishing. If I was to make one recommendation on the bream, I would say I'd probably go up to 10-pound or 12-pound mono next time. If you're fishing the mouth of the Nico or some of that shaly sort of where the soft shell grows near the weeds and the shale bottom, bream are quite smart. They're very old in larger sizes, and they turn on their side and whack you on the bottom. And if you're not running like a stronger leader, which I wasn't, because it's just the 8-pound straight through, we did get pinged a couple of times.
Now, are they black bream or yellowfin bream you're chasing in the Nico?
There is a black bream, but you also get hybrids. So you are seeing cross-betweens.
Because the yellow ones aren't as smart as the black breams.
The black ones are really smart. And those are the big 46.5 centimetre ones that we got. And we didn't really get too many fish under 40 centimetres. It was fantastic. Actually, if I had gone back and fished where we were fishing with the same amount of luck that we had the following week, I probably would have won the Twin Rivers comp and got a kayak. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But to the bream fisho, this is a really nice setup. It's got a beautiful curve in it. The Raider rods, this is under a $200 combo, right? So you don't need 10 of these, just 2 or 3 of these are perfect out of a little tinny like I was. But I want you to have a feel of that, because that 1 to 4 kilo, I reckon that would be a fantastic light water, shallow water whiting rod.
It's nice.
Nice. So Shimano Raider 721 bream, Sienna 2,500, Shimano 8-pound. I'd probably recommend going to 10 or 15-pound. It's so thin it doesn't matter. 1/0 hook, and we'll catch in bream for days.
I think your bait just fell off.
Oh yeah, I think they haven't had a proper wash. It's unlike me, but it is bream fishing.
His rods are usually well washed and well looked after. Once you see mine,
well, it's the commercial fish show in you.
Well, no, there are. I'm not going to blame that on all commercial fish shows. Some commercial fish shows keep their outfits and their gear in really good nick.
Yeah, Richie Abella, definitely. I've seen the quality of his stuff. But let's gear it up now. One of the fish species that features very heavily in Just Your Average Fish Show's reports, particularly when you and I fish together, is whiting. Now, that's how you came to get the Baron name. I nicknamed you the Baron because you're a whiting catching machine. You and I are tech heads. I'm more tech head on the tackle. You're a tech head on understanding the deep arches of the black interweb to go find out where fish are, where were they, where they're going, and then I've never seen someone fish harder in my life, and it's the bit that complements my fishing of our friendship. So we call you the Baron because there was the first couple of years I got to know you, we got a lot of whiting. We did well.
I had to create a shortcut, right? I've only been in Melbourne for 10 years.
Yep.
Everyone else has kind of grown up here. They understood the fishery. I came from northern New South Wales and then into Sydney. We didn't have King George whiting. And they're tasty. So it was in my best interest and my dinner plate's best interest to figure out how to catch them. Not to clean them, but just to catch them.
I have to say you rekindled my love. There was, in your older boat, you took me out to Western Port on a beautiful rising sun morning with a run out tide, and you said, we're gonna go here, here and there. And we caught a beautiful bag of whiting, mixed sizes, and then you were kind enough to skin them because you would normally put them in the scaler bag.
Yep.
And I don't like fish that taste like fish, so I said, can you skin them? And don't beat them in the bags, it's a delicate flesh. You're like, no, we can beat them in the bag, it's fine. And then you didn't, and it was like, you've changed your ways on that one too.
Yeah, I loved being lazy. I loved towing them behind the boat, just ripping the skin off, ripping the rib cage out and done.
Yep.
But fresh, I don't think it changes much.
Yep.
But frozen coming out of the fridge with skin off, or out of the freezer with skin off, it tastes better.
Yeah, it does.
Sure, you lose most of the nutrients.
Yeah.
We can't
I can't debate that one, but
they taste better.
They do taste better. Now, we have a different approach to fishing tackle when it comes to whiting fishing.
Yeah, new, old.
Hand me down, new. Yeah.
Hand me down.
All right.
So
let's talk about this. Now, but before we just talk about this particular rod and the story behind it, you had a very different rod. It was a custom whiting rod that a Western Port fisher had used for years. You got onto them.
I did.
Yep.
So it was 7'8", 1 to 4 pound.
Travel rod?
No. It was 3-piece.
3-piece.
But definitely not a travel rod.
And a noodle.
Very much a noodle, but graphite. So it was modelled on an older IM7 graphite blank, I think it was called.
Yep.
And I loved it.
Yep. And I was using that one.
You were using that one, but loved the rod.
Yeah.
Loved it in certain situations, but it actually got more noodly.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where it was too noodly. And it's like, well...
Had to retire it.
It did. And I think I was getting lazier and I got an anchor winch. So when I got that rod, I had no anchor winch. So fishing over 4 meters was always hurting. So it was shallow water, noodle, and worm hooks.
Because I think, but our whiting fishing together has evolved a little bit. So we've evolved a little bit in gear. You're using a different rod setup.
Laziness breeds efficiency.
That's right. I'm using different gear. We've sort of changed up our style on hooks a little bit. So look, there's a lot of whiting hooks out there. There's the Mutu, which I don't mind for the dangler rod because it just hooks itself. There's the Shiner number 6, which is actual wide gap if it's a Reedies. And then also the long shank, which the Reedies size for long shank has long been a favourite, but we've sort of gone back to the more circly wide gap style now.
Shallower sub 4 meters worm hook for me wins, but getting into that slightly deeper water, usually be more than 9 meters, I'd change the whiting rig itself and change the hook. Now I think I'm just getting lazy and just leaving the Shiner on there, and it's fine. If they get timid, I will go back to a worm hook. If I'm in Port Phillip Bay and there are smaller fish, I'll go to a worm hook. And some days the Shiner just won't work. They're biting too timid. Go back to the worm hook. But again, I'm lazy. I just leave whatever's on there. I'll leave the hook on there until a leather jacket takes it. Like I don't have any here, but usually on my rod is a red hook at the top, and then it's all brass and gold.
It's been bitten and played with. So let's compare weapons for a second. So you've got what's this one? Yep, this is my normal one for this. So this is shallow water. Now 2 ends of the spectrum. So that was my old style.
So we're about 4 or 5 years behind apart in tech. So. This one, it's custom because it has a custom guide.
A bent guide, that's right.
It does. We won't talk about the little gap bit, but it hasn't cut any line yet.
Well, yeah, so I had a few of those. I had 2 identical setups I was using fishing with you, and I think I accidentally stood on it, and then it becomes disowned from the Justin family.
So I went to his house, and it was in the front of the garage. I'm like, what's that doing?
Yeah, you took it home. Now, so it's that is the older Revolution 2 to 4 kilo 2-piece, and the new one is like a black and gold one, which you'd need to buy now, but same rod effectively. So for those at home,
is that the gold one?
That is the gold one.
Right.
So that is the new Revolution series. So they just outdated that this 2024. Okay. They did move, however, they went up a step in blank technology to a Toray 30-ton blank technology.
What is Toray?
So Toray is a blank manufacturer, which makes carbon that is compressed at different ton ratings to create strength in their rods.
So the tonnage is how much pressure they put on it to make them something like that.
Or something like that, yeah. You know, I can't speak to it now. Shimano does use Toray blanks in many of their different rod ranges, and the Revolution now features that Toray range, is my understanding. And the 2 to 4 kilo, same rod, just looks different, okay? But that is a really nice rod because you can use that shallow and deep, yeah?
Yep, up to that 4-ounce sinker. It's got enough beef behind it. But it's kind of become a bit of everything. It's my second squid rod. We'll get on to squid rods in a moment.
We will.
It's my second squid rod up the north coast for Bream and Flathead. And paired with this.
Yes, now you needed to upgrade your reels because they sounded disgusting.
Well, I was winding them, and the screaming goats in the paddock next door thought it was one of their friends.
Well, I thought it was one of their friends getting mauled in water. So you've gone to the Vanford. I think it's a 3000.
Yes.
So the Vanford 3000, basically the same as the 2500, but with bigger spool depth. So we can put a lot of braid on there, and you've got Shimano Grappler 15, 16 pound, I think it is.
That feels like 4.
Yeah, it is so slippery, so thin, and there's a lot of backing on there for the 300 metres that's on there. So you could probably step it up to a 20 pound grappler, even a 25 pound, which is ridiculous. You don't need it, but then it would fill the spool. Now, I like my tackle, as you know, and I tend to buy not super duper high spec, but mid-range.
There's understatements, and there's what just happened there.
Okay, I might happen to have a tackle shop at my house, but the bit that we complement each other with in this fishing relationship is
you buy it, you break it, I steal it, we're good.
Steal it, we're good. It gets hand me down. No, but I like trying new stuff, right? Like, there are advancements and we move forward. So now this is a Shimano Zodias. This is the 270 ultralight, okay? So it's a 7-foot 2-piece. It joins at the butt. You just screw it in there.
Hold up. Your reel is dirtier than mine.
Yeah. Well, I was in between jobs for a while, as you know, and I did a lot of solo whiting fishing, and this may have just been dumped in the shed last time. There's still like whiting bits and pieces all over it. Now, this is the lightest, the ultralight, this one. This
was where you were trying to figure out which one.
Because these are ting slingers. I call these ting slingers, right?
Not slayers.
No, slingers, you sling them in the boat.
Right.
I'm going to copyright that phrase, guys, so just so you all know. Now, so this is the light. So that's what's the poundage on that one, Ben? That one is...
Oh, it's probably in tiny writing. Hold on. Oh.
Yeah, no, down here.
270L.
That's the light. 7-foot, 2-piece.
3 to 6 pound.
So this one is the 2 to 5. So this is the one that I was using initially, the
and
really
1
light
pound,
one.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Well, in the rod field, absolutely. So I was using the 270 ultralight for all of our shallow water fishing. The benefit that you get of this one is super light. It's got the Shimano X-Wrap, which is the carbon wrap over the
Do you know what makes it good?
What?
This finish.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So
what is it?
It's called X-Wrap. It's Shimano's X-Wrap carbon wrapping sleeve. So what they do is they literally carbon sleeve wrap the entire rod and then glass over it.
Is this where they get a whole heap of those X-Wrap lures, crunch them because no one uses
possibly,
them,
I don't know.
Put them around a rod?
I don't know. But paired with a Vanford 3000, and this is again the 15 pound grappler braid.
The reel's on the wrong side.
No.
Wrong
We're going to
side.
debate that in another Tech Tackle episode. But the 270 ultralight, fantastic. However, if you get a big salmon or trevally on it, which you can do if we're running in Western Port, and you've got say a 3-ounce sinker on this or a 2-ounce sinker, you're starting to get a little undergunned. Okay, because it is a very light rod.
It depends. If you wanted a 2-piece rod, it's perfect.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're going to look. I must admit, I used to have the 268 light, which is when I first started whiting fishing with you. That was a brilliant rod as well. However, I might have accidentally backed the boat over it. I leant it up against the transom and then reversed the boat in. And I have to say I was really impressed at the angle that rod got to and the bang that it made in the shed. It almost blew the glass windows out of the car because of the carbon wrapping, right?
Yep. So you use that instead of a brick to stop your boat rolling around?
That's right. Yeah, you put it under the tyres and everything. So that's when I thought, well, if we're going to fish deeper, so you and I fish say 9 metres plus for deeper whiting, we might need to use that 4 to 6 ounce at sinker, I thought, let's step it up a notch. And definitely, absolutely the 270 light is really good.
Yep.
And the next one above is going to be too much. That's a medium light. So that's sort of getting around that 10-pound range. So 5
But that's
rod
kind
range.
of their snapper soft plastic range, yeah?
Correct, absolutely.
It's in that 8 to 15 pound.
That's right. You move to a fast action rather than an ultra fast, which is a little bit more noodly with this one. So this is the Japan domestic market rod. So this is available in Japan. Shimano are bringing more of these out because this is fantastic technology.
So what's happening there at the moment? Because there seems to be quite a lot of JDM's stuff landing locally. Did they hijack a ship that went the wrong way? Or?
No, I think that what they're doing is they're complementing Australian made and designed rods for bait dangling and lures and jigging and whatever with JDM rods that do the same, that sort of fit the same size class. So if you want something a bit more upper spec, and JDM is obviously the great thing. If you go JDM, you don't need to separately manufacture a different product range, I would assume. Now, I'm only saying that. Now, you know, I don't know. You know, whilst I love my Shimano gear, I talk about it all the time. I was using, in comparison to this, a different whiting rod for a long time that you've also sussed out and started playing with as well. But I have to say, I love the Zodias. You're more of a fan of the feel of the Revolution. Why don't we get a new current model Revolution and we'll check those out too. Lee Rayner, on his latest whiting video that I was telling you about the other day, he's using the Shimano Maruko 2. I've got some of their jig rods. They use a...
You had some of their jig rods?
No. Well, you've got the Maruko 1s.
Oh, you got the 2s.
I've updated to the Maruko 2s.
Right, okay.
So they have a King George whiting, a 7.6 2, so a 7'6" two-piece.
Yeah, right, long.
1 to 4. And Lee, literally in his video, in this Fishing Edge video, is swinging in Western Port deep 50 centimetre whiting on this
Was
thing.
he down in the lower reaches of Western Port like he
certainly
loves?
He certainly was. You can see where he is. You can see it on his latest YouTube video. And, you know, he got the 10 fish and then they turn off it like we know. But I think one of them went 50 centimetres and he had no issues. He was using 15-pound braid and it's only a 1 to 4 kilo rod with a white, almost looks like a nibble tip. So we might have to try some of those too.
Yeah, and the good thing about Lee with his videos now, he's using the gear that he wants to use. So it's kind of interesting. If he is doing that and he's using those, he wants to use that rod.
Yeah. Yeah, so Shimano, if you're listening, you know my address, hopefully. No, I'll send it to you. We'll get sent some. Tell me what you look for in a whiting rod, because this is probably, I think, the light version you felt was a bit of a stiff rod for you, for the way that you like to feel the whiting bite and fish.
I like fiberglass rods, right? So I've always liked the feel of fiberglass. I know it hurts. I like the way that the taper works.
Yep.
So a really fast action graphite rod just doesn't quite feel right to me.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with either way. It's just I got brought up in the country with more noodly rods, and that's just what feels natural to me.
Okay.
I don't think it really matters. I think what's really important is that you use one rod and you use it a lot to know how it feels, how it works, and how to get the best out of it.
Yep.
You can use any rod you like, just learn that rod, learn that reel, learn that hook, and then you'll get better at it. It's when you're constantly changing and swapping. As I said, I've only been in Melbourne for 10 years. We're average fishers. We're just trying to work it out. But you can't perfect something if you keep changing the things that you're trying to perfect.
So you're saying I can't keep updating tackle?
No, because I want your rods. So just keep going.
Reels, I haven't changed reels. So
No.
I've been using Vanford since they came out, and it's 2024. They've just released a new series. You know, Vanfords, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, look, I think you're right. I think that certainly what I realised was that, you know, until we got that hook combination right for when we were shallow water fishing versus deep water fishing for whiting, and Reedy is a big proponent of this, is not change hook. Yeah. Or I think personally there's a reason to change hook based on timid bite, because if they're not biting on a circle on the dangler, but you're able to bounce it along and hook them with a long shank, then go long shank, right? But he does make a fair point that they both need to be fished differently, so get good at it.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a fair point. Okay.
So a lot of the time I'll have a worm hook on one rod and I'll have a shiner on the other.
Yep.
Shiner will sit in the rod holder, worm hook will stay in my hand. And you just have to remember which rod has got which so you don't strike with a circle and you're good.
What about mono versus braid? So we're using oodly thin, super strong Shimano Grappler braid. It is so thin. It's 8-strand. It's super slick. Blah blah blah. It's fantastic. Do you have a preference to pound rating, or why mono versus braid?
Years ago, I used to scour the bins at Aldi and buy my braid. Right, so they do this clearance once a year, and I actually put some on the rod for the new fishing simulator.
Right.
That is at the Mitcham Angling Club, by the way. So if you want to join, come down, fight a marlin in the warmth.
Yep. Friday night socials.
Yep. Big thing.
Yep.
And I didn't think it mattered. And then I kind of got slightly better braid, and then slightly better braid, and then a more slicker braid. And I'm like, the guides don't have to sound like they're screaming. And worked my way down from there. I think as long as the braid you're using is a reputable braid, I don't think there's that much difference. Just buy once, buy well. It'll last you 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice. And look, again, I'm a Shimano fan. I've used their Kariki 8-strand. I've used their Grappler 8-strand now. They've just brought out and announced some new Kariki 8-strand Plus, which has got some more stuff in it. And on some of the jigging and casting rods I've got is the O'Shea 8, which is their pinnacle one. And I've used a lot of other brands as well that I've told in the fishing reports because it's ropey and it just works and it's economical. I think absolutely work with what your tackle shop's got, whether it's bulk spooled or whatever, because you can buy it more competitively. But certainly not all braids are braids, right?
Yep.
Some
braids are rope.
Yeah, absolute rope. And, maybe for a deep drop reel that might help, I don't know. So.
I know, I've kind of liked the slick one because you got to listen to it come through the braid for 400 metres.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so we're now going to talk something that's very passionate to multiple friends that we fish with, but you and I as well, snapper fishing. All right, and we have definitely been through the last 3 years, even pre-COVID times, a number of different snapper rods.
Yep.
So tell us about your preference of snapper rod. I'm going to show you what I've moved to and talk about what I had. So I was using the Blue Series Shimano Revolution.
Yep.
Okay. And that was a Port Phillip Bay 741. So 7'4" one piece.
Yep.
5 to 8 kilo. Very nice rod. The new Shimano Revolution, the gold one, same rod, but slightly better blank. But I've fished with Reedy a lot, and he had these. These are the Shimano Raider 701 snapper. Heavy. They do 2 versions.
Yep.
They do just a standard one, which is this one's the 5 to 10, and then they do a normal one, which is I think 5 to 8.
Yep.
Okay. It's not a broomstick at all. It's still got a beautiful bend in it. But when you're fishing early in snapper season or very late, and you're fishing on the mud, Gary Giller can always come along. And in that that lighter series, you're a bit undergun. I'm matching that with a Shimano Saragossa 6000 with the X-Age 20-pound line for this season. I was using a 10 kilo IGFA. It's not required. So, and 300 meters of 20-pound X-Age will just go on that fine. And that will battle gillers. I've had gummies up to the boat in that. And these are very nice. They bend about halfway down the rod, which is beautiful. And again, lovely, thin, light rod, cork grips, feels great in hand all day. All right. But you like something very different.
Yep. So it comes back to what I was saying before. I prefer the feel of a fiberglass blank to help stay connected and to feel more confident with the big head shakes of larger fish and dealing with larger fish. This is probably a touch light, to be honest. It's actually loosened up these cheap snapper
Southern Snapper series.
Southern Snappers.
They're Shimano's and they're exclusive to Complete Angler stores.
Yep.
So
now it started off as a 6 to 8 kilo.
Yep.
I reckon it's now a 2 to 5.
Right.
Because I think they get more noodly over time.
Right.
But for me, with larger fish, with anything with large head shakes, I like something with more give. Because every time a head shake of a snapper or a gummy happens and I'm holding a carbon or a graphite rod, I have a heart attack. Because I just don't feel confident that I will be able to keep the line tension on it that I need. Probably going to be fine, but it's a personal preference.
It's a personal choice. And having done some consulting and working with Lofty, who's the original owner of Complete Angler Ringwood, interestingly enough, when someone buys a graphite rod, you've got to educate them not to high stick it. Because typically inexperienced fishers will set drags way too heavy or way too light, no middle ground. And if they set them too heavy and they're high sticking, ping. You're either pigging the fish or you're busting your rod.
That's not what I'm worried about. I'm just worried about that I think the recoil of the rod itself, I think they fold away far faster than we probably need them to. So if you take away all the stretch in the mono, I use low stretch mono, if that's a thing.
Yeah.
It kind of is. There's a couple of brands out there that do low stretch variants. So if you're removing that stretch and you've got a rod that folds away and recoils very fast, I just find that for me, it doesn't keep as much pressure on the fish as I naturally would like.
Now these are a fantastic rod. I had a load of these, and then I think I passed them to another member in the club. I don't know whether you went and bought some.
No, I bought 6.
Yeah, you bought 6, and
thinking that I'd snap them, and I've still got 6.
You've still got 6, and look, you could use that for reef bashing and everything as well. They're quite a strong stick. They're very, very cheap though. They're like $79 a rod retail. And what do you pair it with?
Bait runner.
Bait runner, Shimano bait runner, which is the timeless classic for Port Phillip Bay snapper fishing. Absolutely.
And moving down here, I tried a bunch of other reels, smaller reels. I just feel more confident with a larger reel in hand with a larger fish.
Sure.
It's
So, what pound line are you using?
20.
Yep.
20 and
Probably 40.
yeah, I think that's 30.
Okay, 30, and we had a good season on the snapper. It was a bit of a bitsy season, but we did pretty well. We did fish together a bit.
I think I did 3 weeks, and then I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah. Is snapper sashimi a thing?
It is.
Yeah. Do you like it?
I do. Not as much as some other things.
Okay. Is King George whiting sashimi a thing?
Figured this out last year. Finally, you have to let it rest.
Really?
So if you slice sashimi on a plate, so I was bringing home all sorts of random things. So I had yakka, trevally, snotty trevella.
Yeah.
Is really good sashimi.
That's actually beautiful cooked.
And whiting, and I was slicing them up, putting them on a plate, and the whiting was always tough, but I actually let it get up to room temp for 20 minutes, and it's softened right up, and it is good. But the whiting have to be big.
Yeah, okay.
Because otherwise they're like...
Yeah, paper thin.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope that gives some really good insight to some of the fishing gear that we're using and more in depth the reasons why. Obviously, it might not suit you. Strongly recommend that if you go down to your local fishing tackle store, have a feel of the rods, see what you think. Take their recommendations. Take our recommendations, because I know that a lot of you are using the gummy combo that we now use for kingfish, school tuna, you name it. But support your local tackle stores, get their advice, or have a listen to us, send us a message.
Can I say one thing?
Of course.
When people go into a tackle store, they grab the rod, they get their mate to hold onto the end, and they try and bend it to the floor. Yeah. Don't do that. Yeah. You don't need to.
That's not a fish.
Yeah, exactly. Grab the rod, hold it, and shake the end, and you'll see what the natural rod
Curvature
feels
of the
like.
rod is, the action,
Find your rod at home that you really like, do that with it, and then go into the tackle store. If you want to find another one like that, it's the best way to find a natural reaction from the blank.
Yeah. And also balance the reel to the rod.
Yes.
So this is probably something that, look, we're just about to finish up, but this is a really good discussion. Don't overkill the rod with too much weight, and having a little bit of tip down, like you probably see that on camera now, that is perfectly balanced in hand. You don't need to go heavier. You're casting this thing. And here is a controversial question, Ben. Let's say, you got $500 to spend on a nice whiting combo. Now that's going to get you a nice reel.
I don't think I've spent $500 on 4 whiting combos.
I might have. But do you go better in rod or better in reel?
Reel.
Why?
Because I'm brutal with my reels, and the better it is, the more it'll stand up to the abuse that I give it.
I like your choice, and I would say the same, because in one round of whiting fishing, just the amount of casting and baiting and fishing and whatever you're doing and reeling, one of those spools could do up to 15,000 revolutions. So the more bearings, the better water infiltration protection that reel has, which you get as you step up in quality of reel. Go reel.
Yep.
Rods. Doesn't matter whether it's an $80 rod or a $300 rod, is more disposable. That's why they're giving 10-year warranties on reels. So,
But there's a point that you have to get up to with rods, though. You can't put a $20 rod on a $300 reel. You've kind of got to be in that 80 to 90 plus, and it gets you something with better components, better Fuji reel seats and things like that, because it's important for that to be right. And there's a minimum price that starts to become a thing. Once you're over that, then it's your Zodias and the nice things. Usually I just get up to that barrier and I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
tight ass commercial fisherman kicks in. No, that's fair enough. And look, I think that if anyone's going to test the gear better, it's you, because you not only fish a lot and you fish hard, and you couldn't care less about the gear as long as it's doing the job, and that's fair. There's a lot of people like that. I'm not so that way inclined, but and I don't even know why I worry about it so much. It's probably because I just like to look after my stuff, but I don't keep it long enough for it to really be bothered. But at the end of the day, because it's like, ooh, 2025 Shimano stuff's coming out. Better go buy it.
Yeah, this one's got a scratch in it.
It's terrible. It's got to go. No, I think look. I hope that these tech tackle shows are delivering some advantage to you and that you're enjoying them, getting the insights of someone who's a far greater fisherman than I.
But still average, still very, very average.
Well, we're still average because I don't think that you can ever learn completely about where the fish are or why they're biting.
No, for something that is so dumb, they're impossible to figure out.
Yeah, that's very true. And the seasons change. Global warming, god damn it. Anyway, thank you again for joining us for the Just Your Average Fishers Tech Tackle series. We'll be coming to you again with another one talking about more gear as usual. Ben, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
We'll see you next time.